Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are tonight on Tuesday nights, and it's not a brass tacks episode, or is it? It's kind of like a hodgepodge. We are doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about The Sins of Halloween 2 from 2009, Rob Zombie's sequel to Halloween from 2007. And we have Coriander and Killian, of course, and Eric's with us on this special Tuesday night because we're doing the Sins Edition live. And we're going all out.
I'm ready, baby.
White horse.
I'm not saying nothing. Real quick, let me just check on the chat and get this thing going. Ronan says, "What's up, fam?" All right. You're all right. Oh my god, watching this movie right now for like the 100th time. Lots of sins, lots of problems that I have with this film. All right. And I think what's interesting is that with this series, and if you guys haven't checked out our previous episodes, we've literally gone through Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, H2O, and Resurrection, and Rob Zombie's Halloween. So the whole idea of this series is to talk about some of the things that we saw that we had issues with, but sometimes to talk about some of the things that actually worked well, even in a movie that we might have issues with, but also to talk about what some people, fans, talk about, some issues that the community you hear that they talk about. So we wanted to have that as a live discussion with you guys tonight. And also, wow, coming in, super chat from Stevie, $20 super chat, starting this thing off quick.
Thank you. Right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
really appreciate that. Yes. Saying I enjoy Rob's first Halloween to an extent, but I think its sin was that he turned Michael Myers into a product of nurture, not nature, and the original knowing he was born a psychopath made him more intriguing and scarier. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. When we talked about it in our last sins episode, that was something that we talked about quite a bit. Obviously knowing that Rob was in an impossible situation, right? Because you can't just recopy what John Carpenter did. But at the same time, and I've always said this even before on other, Halloween movies, Michael Myers, his lane, his mythology is very narrow, right? He doesn't have a lot going on because, it's a very simple thing. He killed his sister as a kid. He got put away. He escaped and he went back to Haddonfield. He saw Laurie and then boom, shit happens. It's very narrow, whereas, some of the other icons like a Freddy or like a Pinhead or like a Candyman or something like that, they have a much bigger mythology that you can play around with. That said, yeah, there were some issues with the first movie that all three of us talked about. But how about you guys? Any quick thing that you want to say about that idea of nurture versus nature and how Rob kind of switched it around, showing that Michael, his evil was kind of born from his environment?
Yeah, I actually agree with Stevie, but what I did like was how Rob kind of fleshed things out a little bit and explained some things. But I do feel, just like Stevie, that it is a little bit scarier when you just don't know, when you have a psychopath that grows up in a good home, a loving family, but just for some reason, there's something not wired, normally. And that to me makes it very scary.
Right. How about you guys?
I personally prefer what Rob did over Carpenter because the way I look at it, I like how it was kind of like this powder keg that we know is starting to boil over and explode, and we have the tension, and then finally when he is an adult, that's well, it happens when he's a kid, but really when he's adult, that's when it explodes and he's out. And I think that's just my opinion. It's more scary because when we know what he's done in the past, and we know, and then I also kind of like it's weird saying it because it's Michael Myers, but we have a little bit of sympathy because it's like this guy was screwed from the start. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he had no chance. And I kind of liked how we went the serial killer route with the torturing of the animals and stuff like that. So it went a little bit more realistic to me. Maybe I enjoyed it more because, what we've seen from the other entries before we got to Rob and how over the top and crazy it was. Maybe that's another reason why I enjoy it. What Rob did more.
Yeah,
More
I mean,
realistic than the Cult of Thorn and all that
and
stuff.
plus,
You know what I mean?
you know what else? You know what else we came off right before Rob?
Let the dangertainment begin out
I love that
man.
clip. I love that clip.
Yeah, no, but I get what you're saying, Eric.
Yeah.
It did have some interesting things, I mean, it wasn't, but to me, and we'll talk about that another time because, of course, we did that episode, but we're talking about Halloween 2 tonight. But Coriander, did you have any thoughts on it as well, as far as the nurture versus nature motif?
I've always liked the original where you didn't know, but with Rob Zombie's version, he changed it up so much that, it fits this movie. And I kind of like the first one. Okay, yeah, it had some issues, but this one, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but
yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah,
he started out doing it the right way, but then it kind of went into a totally like, what the hell is going on? Is this really Michael? It's an imposter. This is imposter Michael.
Okay. All right. Well, there we are. All right. So real quick,
Shots
Stevie,
fired.
Thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. And let's do this because, can you dig your man?
Baby, can you dig your man? He's a righteous man. Don't let go.
There it is. There it is. All
Classic.
right.
I like it. I like the classics.
It truly is a classic. Stevie, thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. And just to catch up with some of the rest of you guys in the chat, Ronan giving congrats. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yes. Yeah. And we got Ginger Ninjas in the chat reminding everybody to slash the thumbs up. All right.
Nice.
We got Val in the chat. The general is here, ready to lay the law. You know what happens. It could be something interesting. It could be something like this.
So you want to be on Dangertainment? Let's see what you got.
I'm just saying.
Oh, man, are you gonna torture me this whole episode with
I'm
butt
just
Yes,
saying.
he is.
Come on, man. You know the rules.
He wants to get you riled up for this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, look.
Oh, jeez.
Val says they'll need to break this up into 4 episodes for all the sins in this movie.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
Val.
Let's hope not.
Yes,
oh,
Val.
my God.
Hey, look, for the last one, for Rob Zombie's Halloween, we did break it up into 2 parts because it just went on and on. What's up, Dominic? All right. Now, let me also let me put a disclaimer here because some people are probably wondering how this is going to probably go. First of all, if you've been around this channel long enough, you know Eric is family here and always great to have him on. And there is one movie that he is infamous or famous for loving and trying to spread the knowledge on. Of course, that's Jason Goes to Hell. We had him on our episode to give us a counterbalance because there are some things about it that, yeah, it's pretty good. But the same holds true for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. He is a fan of it. And so I think it's really good to have, different sides of the viewpoints, to give a balanced conversation. So just to throw that out there so people know where we're coming from.
That's okay. I can take it as well as dish it. Don't worry about it.
I know you can, man. What's up to Gore? My man Gore's in the chat.
Hey, Gore.
Hey.
And Tex and Philip.
Hello.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey.
And Tex said, can't wait for this discussion. Rob Zombie's Halloween films are my favorite in the entire franchise.
Wow.
Greatest
You
of
said
all
entire
time.
there?
No,
Are
I
you
just
sure?
put that in there. I'm just messing
I was going to say, I don't see that there.
Well, you know what I love about this, and I know for some of you guys that are newer to the channel, when
Good
we
for you,
went through,
Tex.
right? When we went through the Halloween series, reviewing each movie last Halloween season, we had a blast on these 2 Rob Zombie movies. So if you want any deep discussion, bit by bit, check out those videos too, man. Because seriously, it was fun. It was really,
fun
really fun.
watching.
Yeah. Yep. Gore saying, Zombie usually paints the world as ugly as he possibly can. Yeah.
He does.
Yep. And I mean, there are people and places in the world that are like that. I just don't know if in every single movie that it needs to be portrayed like that. But hey, Um, let's see. And I think I'm all caught up to the chat. Oh, Russell's in the chat too. What's up, Russell? Good to see you. Good to see you. And for the rest of you guys, Katie's jumping into definitely what's going on. What's going on? All right, guys. So let's get going with this. So the way this goes is I'm just going to, talk about some specific things in the movie, have you guys kind of piggyback off of that. Okay. Now, Eric, I will start with you.
Okay.
Listen, this movie, it's a fun thing to go and see this in the theater. We went to go see it in the theater. And the first thing that happens is very interesting. When I was a kid in school, I liked to learn, right? And there was something that we used to use a lot, and it was called number one sin, Webster's Dictionary. And what I mean by the Webster's Dictionary is right off of the bat, in the beginning of the movie, we get a definition. And it's Kill's favorite part of this movie, the white horse definition. Now, right from the beginning, be it good or be it bad, I knew that he was going to be going down a different path, right? What did you think of the whole concept of the white horse and how it was used in this film? Coriander's laughing.
No, I am not. As much as I have defended this movie, I think it was an unnecessary addition.
Okay.
I understand it. Like here's the thing about this movie. The problem is the only explanation you get is that literal blink and you miss it description. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I understood it the more I watched it, but you still didn't need it. You don't need like I said with his first movie, I liked how it explained how Michael got this rage, became a psychopath. We don't need a white horse to explain every time it shows up, shit's gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So as much as I enjoy this film, it was unnecessary. We don't need it. It's a 2-hour long movie. You can take out every white horse scene and probably save 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So I think
Mama there. I'm sorry, but Mama needs to go too.
Mama wasn't as bad as the white horse. I'm sure we're gonna talk about Mama later.
Come on. That's not even like the worst friggin' stare she gives. It's like, oh my god, man.
But I do say I gotta side with Kill. We didn't need the white horse at all.
Can I add something?
Okay. You sure can, bro.
And I agree with everything Eric said. I get the white horse thing, but let's be real. And Coriander kind of just spoke on it. Rob loves his wife, and ladies,
yes.
We seriously, we all would be happy to have a spouse, male or female, that was as dedicated to get us paid as Rob Zombie is. Rob will figure some way to get his wife in the movie. Right? I one way or another, you're gonna get that check. So this was, like Coriander said, a lot of mama there. Go have fun, baby. Let me stare. Let me just look weird. Let me walk around with the horse. And that messes up the pacing. So
it does.
I wonder what the conversation was.
Well, don't you remember though, right? I'm sorry, Eric, but with Val's question, right, in the beginning there, they showed, Mama and Mike there playing with the white horse, and she even said, think of me. So that's what that white horse has to do with it.
I'm just wondering like what the conversation between Rob and Sherry was when she found out that he got signed for Halloween 2. And Rob's always got to put Sherry in. How are you going to bring me back in this one? Oh, we'll just make you a ghost. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it was just something stupid like looks.
that. No, to me, baby, we'll need a summer. So
well, listen. Here's the thing. Here's the thing to me that to me is almost even more important than that. And by the way, like Val was saying, congrats on the 3-month anniversary for Cody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But to me, by doing this with Sherry and her character, of the mother, I think it's too bad, because I think she did a hell of a job in the first movie, especially in the scenes in Smith's Grove.
Yes, very good.
we even said that in our last episode. That actually was not a sin, is how she actually showed that she had some range. Some of the best acting I've seen her do, you
Yes.
know. And so then,
she's best when she's playing a normal person.
yes, I think so. Yeah. I mean, other than Rejects, I think she was good in that role.
Well,
but it
yeah,
was a
she
very
is, but
narrow role.
I still think her best performance was Halloween.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Oh,
By
yeah.
miles. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
By miles. By miles. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that the White Horse really, it kind of takes away from the story, but it also kind of takes away from the good things that Sherry did in the previous movie. Okay, so Coriander, let me go to you. So the next thing we want to talk about, and early on in the movie, you know, we go through some things. Laurie, obviously, we go through the nightmare sequence, which was the homage to Halloween 2, which I thought was very, very good. And obviously, she wakes up, very cool. And right off the bat, you know, we start to see the conversations that are happening. This is kind of a bridge from the first movie. And we got to talk about the fact that this movie has more amazing dialogue. And I'm talking about, dude, when we watched this movie, Coriander, I'll let you tell this story, but when we were watching this movie, at
what?
one point, Coriander was like, F, 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 F. So what did you think about the dialogue? Like some of what we had talked about when we watched it.
I mean, he just brought it into this next movie, but if anything, he made it 10 times worse, you know.
Now, okay, do you mean just because there was more of it, or do you mean just the way the
Yeah, it's
dialogue
like
went?
everyone's first word is like
Right.
fuck, you
Right,
know.
right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and they say it like 10,000 times, you know.
Yeah.
Especially that dude, the paramedic.
The
It's like,
paramedic, yes.
yeah, that's like all he was saying that whole time, you
Mhm,
know, and it was
mhm.
like, geez, I'm so glad when, Michael just took him out because thank you. This dude needed it anyways. Talking about,
Right.
some nasty shit,
Right.
necrophilia.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
he
okay,
needed
all
to
right.
go.
All right. Let's let's not go off the cliff.
I'm just
They know
saying.
what's going on. By the way, you know, we watched the unrated version. Usually we try to do that if possible, if it's available to us. But yeah, no, I think the dialogue, it just kind of, it got did it seem like that to you, Kill and Eric? Did it get ramped up more into the sleaze factor, or what?
I think so. With the paramedic talk, in my opinion, like Coriander was bringing up, I think they were just playing off each other and having fun. You know, trying to
Yeah.
gross each other out. I think that's all it was.
Right.
But Rob loves his F-bombs. I think probably about, you could take out like maybe 24 of them and you'd still have 24 in this movie. And here's, you know me, I swear like a sailor. But the thing is,
Yeah.
if it's in a movie, it kind of loses the impact of a swear word. You know what I mean? When you're using it every third word.
Exactly.
And if
There
it's
you
not
go.
the Firefly family, like if it's not Captain Spaulding and Otis, no one really talks like that. You know, Laurie Strode, God bless her in this movie, you know, everything she's gone through, she doesn't need to drop an F-bomb every 30 seconds. It doesn't really make me sympathize with her. It makes me just kind of get annoyed. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I have a different opinion.
Okay.
I don't really need all of that, and I think we've said that, you know, as much as I like the first Rob Zombie movie, especially when your boy that actor who the boyfriend,
William Forsythe.
yes, thank you, William Forsythe.
Yeah.
Now, and you kind of touched on this a little earlier, Night. There are family dynamics that sound like this, and
worse.
You know,
yeah.
And I don't know how Rob Zombie grew up, if maybe he grew up in a family dynamic that cursed this much and so forth, but there are family units that do it. But we give other directors a pass. I'm looking at you, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Now we give Quentin Tarantino a pass when he drops N-bombs. We give him a pass when he has, you know, crazy dialogue, or when he's showing women's feet. We give him lots of passes.
Did you say women's feet?
Yeah, because oh, that's the thing. Look, I'm not going to go down that road.
Right.
Take a shot every time. Yeah, we'll just say that.
But my point is this:
dude.
people kind of give him a pass, whereas people looked at this and was like, "Well, Rob, this dialogue. Oh my goodness, clutch my pearls." Like, come on now. You know?
But here's the difference. But here's the difference, though. This is a Halloween movie.
No, of
It's
course,
not
but it's a
not like a
Rob
Texas Chainsaw
Zombie.
Massacre
Yeah.
movie.
Man.
But
Right,
it's
right.
Rob Zombie's
And
Halloween
that's
movie.
that's the
Absolutely.
perfect point, because I've said it before. Like, a lot of times, I think people hate on Rob just to hate on Rob, and it's the in thing to do.
Yeah.
They hate
Right.
on Rob before they even see the film.
Yes.
You
Right.
see the
Right.
film and hate
But
it, go right ahead, bless your heart. But
well,
you know,
here's the thing to me is that I think both of these films have good stuff in them, and both of these films
Mhm.
are good horror films. But I don't think either one is a great Halloween film. Now the first one, I think there was a lot of good stuff in it, and I liked a lot of stuff in the first movie. But this movie, and Rob, there's a lot of behind the scenes about it too. Maybe we can talk
Mhm.
about it some other time because I want to kind of get through the rest of this. But there was some stuff behind the scenes with it too, with as far as the Weinsteins, there was reshoots, there was a lot of
Yep.
studio pressure. They wanted things done a certain way. He wanted to kind of go down his own path, and I get that and I respect it. But again, when that'd be like all of a sudden in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, everyone's dropping F-bombs. You know what I'm saying? Like that's never what it was about.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if it's a Devil's Rejects remake by another
Mhm.
director down the road and they're dropping 85,000 and F-bombs and stuff like that, yeah, that works because that's the mythology that we were, introduced to for that universe. You know what I mean? So that's where I look at it, and not just the language, but we'll get
Mhm.
to some of the other things too. It's interesting stuff, man. And by the way, what's up, the Strange Monkey in
Hey,
the
monkey.
chat?
Hello.
He says this whole movie is a sign. God,
Oh,
oh man,
I still
I
love
mean,
you, buddy. Don't worry.
I know. Tex saying Tyler Maine is the man. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool dude, and he's very
Yeah.
cool with the fans and stuff like that.
I've heard that,
definitely
yeah.
like him. He
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty cool because when this second movie came out, no, the first movie came out, they went to Rock and Shock, and I got to meet Tyler and Taylor, and that's when we met
Yeah,
Danielle and all those
yeah,
people.
I just want to
So, yeah.
see
and
see how big he really is in person.
He's huge. He's
yeah.
huge. Like my ex is like over 6 feet, okay, and he towered over him. Yeah, his hands
Yeah, well, he's like 7 feet
huge.
tall. He's like a
Yeah,
basketball player. Of course he is.
huge,
Wow.
huge.
So,
Yeah.
all
Okay, go
right,
ahead. Sorry.
we got Hatchet Boys in the chat too, saying, "Hey everyone, what's going on? Good to see
Hey.
you too. Good to see you too." And Tex saying, "I've got the pumpkin mask from Rob Zombie Halloween 1 signed by Tyler Maine, Scout, and Danielle."
Very
Wow.
cool.
Very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. So let's move on to our next one. So I can try to keep this thing going. So Kill, let me throw this one at you. We've seen Michael in a bunch of these movies up to this point. We had, a whole bunch. And we've seen him do a lot of different things in these movies. We've seen him portrayed by multiple actors, and we've seen him directed in different ways. And the thing about this movie is there were a lot of things that was bothering Michael Myers. A lot of things that was bothering Michael Audrey Myers. And you know why? Because in this movie, Michael is effing pissed. I mean, he is pissed at everything and everyone around him, except for his mother, of course, and the white horse. So let me just
Thanks for
let me
adding
just
that.
let me pose this to you, bro. I mean, what did you think about the way that he was presented, especially, whether it be when he was killing or, stalking or whatever? How did you like the way he was presented?
Well, and I feel like I'm repeating a lot of stuff from the first Rob Zombie movie. I
That's
like
okay.
the aggression, but I feel in this one Rob kind of said we have to amp it up. We have to have him grunt more, talk more, have him run more.
Right.
So
we gotta have him become Lou Ferrigno as Incredible Hulk.
Thank you. Yes. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like that sequelitis of we got to go bigger, harder, faster, crazier. And yeah, he's effing pissed, man. He's pissed because his mask is messed up. He's wearing a hoodie most of the movie.
Yeah.
But once again, and this to me, and I just said this is Rob Zombie's Halloween, but that
Right.
does not feel like the Shape. It does
Okay.
not feel like the Shape to me.
Mhm.
The Shape is damn near a ninja. The Shape, he just drifts through. Now I know Tyler is huge So that's a big man to drift. But I wasn't a fan of the high aggression in this one.
Okay. How about you, Eric?
Oh, I loved it. I liked it because that's what make my, not just the size, but the aggression, the ferocity. That's what made him scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I get why people like non-Tyler Michael, because he can just slide in the back door. You know what I mean? He's the average size man. However you want. This is the only Michael that I would be, and this is me, fanboy, who on the internet. This is the only Michael I think that would really truly scare me, seeing what he can do. You know what I
James
mean?
Jude wouldn't scare you?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Well, maybe early James Jude, not the third time we saw him when he's getting beaten up in the sewer by a kid
I'm
half
talking
his
about
age.
kills. I'm talking about kills when he literally, fought the whole world and he didn't even blink an eye or didn't even breathe heavy.
Took out the fire department.
Yeah, sure, fine.
Yeah.
I'll put him under Tyler.
That's fair.
I'll put him under Tyler.
Well, I think to me, and Coriander, I'll get to you in a second about it too. To me, number one, it started to tread on Jason territory, a little bit, because to me, and this is from someone that's been watching it since a little kid in the 80s, but each one of the big three had kind of their own, ways that they were, shown and physicalized. You had Michael, that, like you said, Kill. I think that word ninja is a really good word. He's there, he's not, he's the shape, he's the boogeyman, he's a myth, he's gone, he's like in the ether. And of course you have Jason that's just wrecking shop. And then you got Freddy, who's going to talk to you, he's going to throw the one-liners, and he's got that glove, and you got the dreamscapes. So to me, although it was definitely some scary moments, obviously, but like we said in the first Halloween, the Rob Zombie Halloween movie, like, he should kill everyone. He should destroy everything. He's a brute, So like when I see Nick Castle or James Jude Courtney is my favorite Michael Myers.
Okay.
And like he's fighting Haddonfield basically. When he's in that basement at the end of 2018 and he's looking up at Laurie, he doesn't say a word. He doesn't grunt. He doesn't react. He has no emotion. The only time you heard him grunt is when Laurie blew off his hand and he did that little, it's like a quick little, and that was it. His hand got blown off, So to me, I'm thinking, what's up with that guy? I don't get it. He doesn't seem angry. So why is he doing this with the type of, lethal ways that he kills people with that friggin' knife? So to me, I flip it the other way. I think it's scarier when you have someone that shows that they don't have any emotion. Now, granted, again, like we talked about earlier in the movie, Rob also wanted to differentiate himself and his Michael Myers from the original. So that's the tricky part. But how about you, Coriander? What do you think about that idea of the anger, the grunting and all that type of stuff?
It wasn't needed.
Okay.
I don't want to, I'm not going to like say everything that y'all just said because I agree with what you say. And I just, I found it, I don't know, interesting. That's why I called him an imposter, because I've never heard Michael do that. So,
oh gosh. All right.
But anyway,
what's up, Kale? Kale's in the chat too. And for all you guys that are just jumping in, welcome. Hopefully you guys hit the like button. And also Val put Eric's link in the chat for his channel. So definitely go to Eric's channel. We also got the link in the description. So yeah. All right. We got Entertainment Hell in the chat. What's going on? Talking about that Rob Zombie at least had a vision. It was interesting visually. No, I totally agree with that. He definitely did some great things. And I think Halloween 2, as a horror film, as a slasher horror film, I think it's really, really good. It's got all the great elements that you need, But again, like I said, if we were talking about Freddy, and all of a sudden in a Freddy movie, he's grunting and everyone around him is using F-bombs all the time, I guarantee you there'd be some people that would feel like, what's going on with this? You know what I mean? So I think that's the big thing. Is Kill, you said it perfectly when we reviewed it last year. Rob just kind of went a little bit too far into that side of the spectrum. Like if he, if he kind of stuck a little bit, like think about this, and me and Coriander talked about this. All these characters, obviously go down that dark path. Lori, we understand why. But when you look at Annie, played by Danielle Harris, she went through a lot of stuff too, but she wasn't dropping F-bombs all the time. Now, granted, they wanted to portray Lori as, the trauma and her psychosis and all that, and I get it. But the other person too, Brad Dourif.
Yep.
As Sheriff Brackett. Not only was he not dropping F-bombs all the time, but he had more of a well-rounded character, that he presented in the movie. Sure, he got pissed. There's times he cursed. Obviously near the end of the movie, there's a lot of stuff, and we'll get to that too. So I just think that if he had more characters that were a little bit more well-rounded, that would have helped as far as the overall, vibe of the movie.
Yeah, well, Brad was perfect because, like I said, you had the F-bombs from Lori, and then you had Danielle's character. She was still traumatized, but she wasn't trying to show it as much unless she was trying to put Lori in her place. But Brad as the sheriff, he was like the goofy guy who's trying to keep this broken family like glued together. You know what I mean?
Right.
You could tell he still had the pain and the trauma because these are not. And it's like he's now got two daughters, but he's trying to be, the funny guy. Instead of the whole wheat crust. Yeah, whole wheat crust. Why don't we just put the cheese on the cardboard? That type of little. I'm gonna go get a sticky bun. He's trying to bring the levity into this like room or this house full of chaos and darkness. So I think he was done perfectly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
One quick thing, and this is me just kind of talking for Rob, and I don't know, but maybe that's his way of showing the different signs and styles of PTSD. High aggression and cursing, becoming an introvert and quiet, or the other side of trying to make light of it and joke.
Tears of a clown. So you're hiding.
So you have like three, different sides there, to kind of explore it.
No, that's true. I mean, and I definitely think, and actually I didn't even put this up, but I definitely think, Not a Sin is the performance by Brad Dourif and Danielle Harris.
Absolutely.
I think they were a really good counterbalance to what Scout did. Scout obviously put in a hell of a lot of work. There's no doubt about that. I mean, she had to go through a huge range of emotion, but I think that like you were saying, Eric, Brad Dourif offering, a little bit of levity here and there and showing that he was a father that really cared and was really trying to bring these two girls out of their darkness. I think it was endearing, which of course pays off at the end with one of the saddest scenes I might have ever seen in a horror movie. We'll
gets me, man. Yeah.
It still gets me too.
That's one thing I can say. We already said it's not a sin. I think, in my opinion, this is an improvement. Brackett and Annie's characters are an improvement in this one. Brackett didn't do anything in part one. He didn't. He drove Loomis around and that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Annie, in my opinion, she was just an F-bomb, sex addicted, annoying high school girl. Whoop-de-doo. She was very likable and sympathetic here. She had a character arc, and I think those are two improvements in this film.
Absolutely. That's exactly why I put that up there. I think that they really, raised the game of this. But let's go to you, Coriander. Let's go to our next sin that we want to talk about. Now, throughout this whole series, we've had kind of like a running theme of places and locations that may not have a lot of people in it. And, that's one thing. But in this movie, instead of a location, we have to talk about a person, a character. And it was absolutely endearing, or was it? We got to talk about our next sin, and that is the greatest Loomis of all time ever. And I'm lying. So listen, the way that they portrayed Loomis in this movie, and there's a story behind it. We'll talk about that too. Malcolm McDowell had a lot more to do in this movie, like as far as a variety, like something totally different. Coriander, what did you think about the way that Loomis was portrayed in this movie?
I mean, I enjoyed Loomis throughout all these movies except this one.
Why is that?
Because he was an asshole.
Okay.
He didn't care about anything but himself and success.
Mhm.
And I just didn't like how he was portrayed because that is not Loomis. So I don't, it was not very good, at least in my opinion.
Okay, okay. Now, kind of the story behind that is, Malcolm wanted to play it differently than he played it in the first movie. That's how he agreed to do the role. And they kind of based this off of, people like Dr. Phil and other people that, once they get a taste of fame, they kind of run with it and they kind of really just utilize other people's misery and misfortune for their own fame. So in that sense, and I'm just talking about me. In that sense, I totally get it. And in that sense, Malcolm hit a grand slam. It was excellent in that sense. But we're talking about Dr. Samuel Loomis, okay? So to me, the thing that gets me is that the way I always looked at it, and of course, this is what is this? This is the 10th film in the franchise. So
Mhm.
you're already in dark territory. You've gone on for 30 years at this point or whatever. To me, Loomis was always the counterbalance to Michael. Loomis is Van Helsing to Michael's Dracula. You get what I'm saying? And in that sense, it was always kind of fun to see them, playing this game of chess, even though they weren't on screen together that much through all of these movies. But the overarching story is this idea of Michael terrorizing and Loomis trying to stop him at all costs. So to me, I always loved that about it. But in this movie, we didn't have that. And of course, Laurie is going through her trauma, so she's falling down a rabbit hole. So to me, it's almost like, who am I? Who am I rooting for? Who's gonna save the day type of thing. What do you think about that, Kill? And then we'll go to Eric as far as how Malcolm portrayed Loomis in this movie.
I agree with everything you said. If Malcolm wanted to portray him different and make him more of an exploiter and make us hate him or dislike him, he achieved it. He definitely achieved
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
The Loomis that I like you said, is the counterbalance. He is the light where Michael's the darkness. And I think Rob kind of went along with Malcolm wanting to change it up because, you know, Rob probably also doesn't like the Dr. Phil type characters, the Dr. Oz type characters, or people that will like to exploit other people's misery.
Mhm.
And yeah, it really that to me is one of the paramount sins of this, because it doesn't really give me a lot of people that I like or that I
Right.
care if they live or die.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
Loomis in every other version, played by Donald Pleasance, I cared if he lived or died. I cared if, like, oh, he got his face burnt, or did he survive that explosion? Or like, oh, Loomis is even when Loomis is kind of borderline going crazy about to shoot a kid, I still care
Right.
about Loomis.
Right.
Because he
Right.
has had enough. But
Right.
this Loomis, and
That's
I
right.
like Malcolm, of course, but this
Yeah,
Loomis
he's a
was
legend.
this version in the second Rob Zombie, I didn't care for him at all.
Yeah. Now let me also just to catch up on the chat, because I know these guys are coming up with ideas too. Entertainment saying, isn't that the point, the bloody point? Rob Zombie decides how the spectrum applies. Each Halloween is made for a different kind of viewer. Not every viewer is being asked what they want. Well, I think, and Eric, I'll let you answer that. I think that's true. We saw a lot of different things in Halloween over the years, especially, when you do things like Season of the Witch that totally didn't even have anything to do with Michael Myers. But I just think if you look at every other movie, there's a certain mythology with Michael, and Rob obviously did something different, which is fine, because it's good to try new things. I just don't think it worked very well in totality. There were some things that were good, but just like we're talking about right now, and that's even with Eric, who loves this movie, there's always something that may not hit for every single viewer. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Eric?
What taste is subjective.
Right.
What I love, obviously, some people don't.
Yeah.
The Loomis version in this, I absolutely loved, and it's no disrespect to Pleasance, because he was really good. But see, my favorite version of Loomis, when it's McDowell, it's this movie and the very beginning of the first one, you know, where his hair is like in his face. He looks like a dirty hippie. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the stuff I like because it's so different. It's not. I don't know if this isn't the right word. Like it's not so one note. You know what I mean? There's different parts to his version of Loomis. And what I like about his version and this one is because how fame has corrupted him, how it has made him just, he only cares about himself. And the perfect scene, and I don't know if it's in the theatrical, but I know it's in the director's cut, is when he's at the book signing.
Yeah.
And Linda's dad shows up.
That's
he gives him the picture, and he doesn't even remember her because he doesn't care. Because fame has just flipped that switch on him so much, all he sees is green. You know what I mean? It's a wrestling term, you know, red equals green. That's how it was for him. And even though it's because he could have that character arc at the end and, you know, what have you, I kind of liked Douchebag Loomis because it was different. And in this franchise, it got kind of hokey towards the end in the original timeline, made it seem more realistic to me. You know what I mean? Even in this movie with, you know, white horses and stuff like that, it seemed realistic to me that someone could become so fame hungry and money hungry that it would just change that person, because that happens to people all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and the thing it is that definitely can happen. You know, that definitely can happen. But I just feel like it just took away something that I thought was endearing to this franchise. You know, that idea of a doctor that's trying to, you know, deal with this psychopath, you know, and he's he's an old man too. That's the other thing too, that, you know, it was always something that was kind of endearing to me that I think they don't have in this movie. But like you said, I thought he portrayed him very well, especially in that first half of the first movie. I mean, that was amazing stuff. But to see him go from someone that cared, and he cared so much for Michael at Smith's Grove, like, and to see him go from that all the way to this, I mean, yeah, of course it can happen. It happens to, you know, people all the time. But it just seemed like with this movie, it was just too, you know, again, Kill, you use that term zombieisms. It just seems like Rob just went to 100 when he should have maybe gone to 70. You know, obviously Loomis would be traumatized by these events too, but would he become an a-hole to everybody? Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, this is just, you know, just my opinion. He loved Michael. He cared about Michael when he was a kid. And you could tell in the first movie, the way Malcolm delivered the lines when he's saying, Michael, I can't do it anymore, it broke his heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He left Michael. Now, if you think about it now, he already had one book out in the, you know, in between, you know, young Michael and adult Michael in the first one. And now it's, I believe, 2 years later. So there's a lot of time for the gears to shift, you know, and just realize, okay, Michael's dead. Why not make a buck or two? Because he's already had that fame from the first book. And now this one's even bigger. So.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to our next one. And Kill, I'm glad this one falls to you because, you know, look, man, we come from a big city, you know, and we hang out, we go to places, especially, you know, when we go downtown and stuff like that. You come across a lot of people in this world, you know, people change, right? Well, in this movie, we saw some changes happening too. And it happened to our good friend, Michael Audrey Myers, when this was helping out. He says, help a hobo out.
Oh, man.
Help a hobo out, Kill. Now, look, you look at this guy. Now, you tell me, and I know we've talked about this before, and we're just poking fun, you know, for you guys that haven't seen any of our episodes on this. Trust me, look at the content on this channel. We love Halloween. Yes, all of the movies. Friday's our favorite franchise, but we absolutely love Halloween. But we're having fun. We did this with 2 all the way up to Rob Zombie's Halloween. But let me ask you this, Kill. What did you think of the way that he was, you know, costumed up, the mask? We talked about the mask so much over all these movies, and in the first Rob Zombie movie, we praised it because it was the first time the mask looked as good as it did maybe since 78.
Yes. Well, let me just start with that. Yes, we of course love the OG 78 mask, and this was the best mask up until the current trilogy. because it just had a look of menace. It had lines in it.
Right.
It was scary even when young Michael had it on. You have a toddler, a young kid wearing it. That looks scary. But in this one, once again, it's kind of one of those zombie-isms. And I love Rob, so we're poking fun.
Yeah,
but
we're huge fans of like Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses,
but
from Hell, 31.
It's like in the wardrobe department, he said, well, look, he's always wearing, mechanics, onesies and all that stuff. I'm tired of that. I want to, no disrespect to mechanics, but
right.
I want to change it up. I want to mess the mask up, which, I'm fine with that. I mean, look at Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, the burn marks on the mask. That's fine. But my biggest thing is he does look like a homeless person. He's wearing a hood. He has the mask on. Sometimes half of it's gone, and the movie, there are also parts that are just so dark. You can't even appreciate the wardrobe because you can barely make it out.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah. So once again, it just seems like if Rob just said, okay, distort the mask, age it, wear and tear, it's like battle armor, it's seen some better days. But do you need to, okay, we're gonna do that, also put the hood over him, also put all these layers, it's like just layer only a few things,
Hobo Myers.
Hobo Mike.
Hobo Myers. Yeah.
Hobo
it
Mike,
happens.
yeah.
It happens when you're living in the city. Eric, what did you think about the look? Eric's shaking his head. Come on.
I love Hobo Myers.
What I know, but tell
I do.
me,
I like,
tell me
again,
why.
it's because it's something different. If he's been gone for either a year or 2 years, depending on which version you watch. Michael Myers is not the type of guy who cares about what he looks like. He's not going to shave. He's not going to cut his hair. Just like Halloween Ends, he's been in the sewer for a year and he's still able to get a haircut. He's going to let it grow. He's living on the streets. He's eating animals. He's going to look like a person that's been living on the street, eating animals. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Again, it's more realistic, in my opinion, in this White Horse, movie that we have before us. And I just like it because it's different. I like the look. Like we showed the picture of him in the hospital scene. He looked great with the mask. I'm not a fan so much. I'm not so much of a fan with the torn mask look. I think it's when he's at the strip club and I think that she grabs the mask and that's where it gets ripped. I'm not a fan of that. But that's just, nitpicking. I love the look of him looking like a real person in this film when he doesn't have the mask on, because he's going to be walking around looking normal. So he's not going to wear the mask 24/7, like Halloween 5 when he's in the jail cell, possibly in the courtroom if the guy didn't break him out, that type of stuff.
Driving cross country wearing the mask.
Exactly.
Riding dirty.
Going through the drive-through, trying to order, with the mask on. He can't speak. How's he going to eat? But no, that's just my opinion. I just thought I liked the look because it was a little bit more realistic too. If he's been homeless for 2 years, so
right, yeah. All right, so Coriander, before I get your ideas on Hobo Myers, just to say hey in the chat to Omni. Let's see. Kale saying, yeah, Resurrection is the only film I don't like in the franchise, and it's still mildly entertaining to me. Yeah. It has its moments.
It does.
Jeez, I'm sorry. I just don't enjoy that movie. I'm sorry.
Tech saying, let's not forget Halloween 5. Loomis, Donald Pleasant's Loomis, was holding a cop at gunpoint and using a little girl as bait, so he's no saint. Haha. True enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was getting rough. You could see that evil affecting him,
Yes.
like all those years, being in this situation. Yeah, he started to absolutely go down a dark path. No doubt.
He shot him 6 times. Come on.
He shot him 6 times. He was going to shoot Danielle Harris. He was like, you know what? I am not going to let this happen again.
No. I should have shot him 7.
Right? Tex saying Hobo Myers is scarier than Mechanic Myers. It also makes more sense. Yeah.
I like you, Tex.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That scene with
I mean, think
in the
about
2018
That's what I'm saying.
He suits up like,
And you didn't know what he was going to do because he didn't make any noise. It was almost like a flip of the coin. You might live, you might die. There was dozens of people on the street, and Michael he turns and he just walks and he just picks one at a time. With this Michael, you know he's coming after you because he's pissed off, which is still
you can
scary.
hear him coming.
Yeah, right. I know, man. It's all right.
I'm sorry.
I know. All right, so Coriander, let us know what you think about Hobo Myers.
You know, you got to remember, guys, and I said this with this last movie, he's not dirty riding, he's walking. So I get the layers, okay? It's probably cold cross country, right? Where the hell was he? I don't know.
Illinois is cold in the wintertime. Trust me, I live there.
There you go. There you go.
So you're a fan of the look, in other words, of what you're saying.
Well, you know, like Eric said, he's not going to shave. He's not going to be brushing his teeth. He's not going to,
Neither did he in Halloween Ends. He was all crusty. His hair was raggedy.
He got a haircut.
I'm surprised he doesn't have dreads, honestly.
But he's bald in Ends, so it wasn't that he cut his hair. He was James Judas bald. But when Laurie took off the mask at the end, you could see his beard was scraggly. It was growing. He didn't shave or anything. And that was how long was that? 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years later. So in this movie, we're just talking about two years later.
Yeah. Well, it grows quick. Some people can grow facial hair like crazy, so. And he must have been using like twigs or something because it was pretty long and well groomed. So
that's true too.
He
That's
did
a great
keep
point.
that up. Yeah.
Holy shit. That was a good one, Coriander. I never even thought about that. You're all right. Well, listen, my whole thing on it is, the mask in the first zombie movie, I think, was very, very good. This mask was pretty good too. Like I said in the beginning, in the hospital scene, I think that was great. I think he looked great. Everything was good. And yes, obviously, if someone rips at the mask, that would happen. But I just think once it was at the point where, half of his face was showing, and he's got the hood on and the pickaxe and the boots, and I'm just joking, but I'm just saying it just started to look. And I said the same thing. Let me just for transparency's sake, I said the same exact thing about Jason and Freddy versus Jason. I thought that the design for Jason wasn't to my liking. You know what I mean? He basically was like Hobo Jason, not to the same degree, but and I just thought it didn't look as good. And granted, you always try to do different things. But if you can stay closer to
cheesy too.
That
didn't
too.
Look right.
That too. But I mean, like the thing that was good about the current trilogy is they did do some different things, but they still stayed in the realm of you can see it as a bridge from the original movie. Of course, they were linked to 78. This is its own thing. But anyways, that was kind of my thoughts on Hobo Myers. It kind of is what it is. In the beginning of the movie, I think he looked great, and then it just kind of. I mean, we know, we know he's out wherever in the cold or whatever, just like we know at some point he has to take a dump, but I don't want to see it. I want Michael.
And he doesn't use toilet paper.
I want Michael. I want Michael to be. Here's the thing to me, and of course, people look at Michael in different ways. I look at Michael where he's the boogeyman. He's like a myth. He's like, how does he do things? Where is he at? How did he move so quick? That's another thing too. This Michael, he was running a couple times and that, which is fine. But I'm just saying,
it's probably from having itchy ass.
All right. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So let's
see. This is where you need that train whistle and that crash noise.
Right? I'm telling you. Yeah, she does that to me all the time, man. Okay. So Eric, next thing we want to talk about. We're almost at the end of this. So Sleaze Factor Paradise. I just want to kind of piggyback. What?
I love these titles.
What? Sleaze Factor Paradise, bro. No,
he's not wrong.
I just want to piggyback to, we kind of touched upon it, whether it's, the paramedics or, the party scene or, just some of the residents of Haddonfield. This is obviously a continuation from the first movie. But my question to you, we touched upon it a little bit, so we don't have to get deep into it, but I'm just saying, if the sleaze factor was pulled back a bit, do you think it would make this movie better, the same, or worse? As far as being a Halloween movie, I'm not talking about horror. I'm talking about Halloween as well as we do.
Always, as far as being a Halloween film, you pull it back, it'd be a lot better. because like we've said before, with anything with Rob, with the F-bombs and stuff like that, if it's something we're not used to, it's overkill. And the sleaze factor, I mean, again, that's one of Rob Zombie's things is it's, over the top swearing, sleaze, over the top violence. But for a Halloween film, I think it's too much in this movie. If it was like, you don't really need to be as sleazy as like Daniel Roebuck is with the stripper. You know what I mean? Maybe have little bits and
Yes.
pieces, but definitely
Right.
dial that down. Dial down Laurie's friend in on how, at the party when she's in the van, stuff like that. You
Right.
don't need
Right.
so much. Like, I
Yeah,
get it. If
talking-
you're going to see a Rob Zombie film, you have to expect that. But
Yes.
even for me as a fan of, I don't think there's a film of his that I don't enjoy other than maybe Lords of Salem, and that's because I don't understand what the hell's going on in that movie. I know what to expect, but even for me as a fan, I thought it was too much.
Okay.
I think he could have either dialed it down or just removed a couple scenes completely, in my opinion, for that.
Okay. Like, one scene we talked about and Kill and Coriander, and obviously Coriander knows this because we were talking about it. One scene in particular, and again, because I know some people are going to say, well, she survived this trauma. I get that. But so did Annie, But I know he was trying to present Laurie as a trauma survivor and, her psychosis becoming more and more prevalent and stuff like that. But one scene that got me is when she was in the car and she found out that, she was Angel Myers, Michael Myers' sister. She had read the book. And Coriander, you counted it. How many times did she drop the F?
God, did I count it?
Yeah, you did.
Like, I don't know. 5,
Work
6
with me,
times.
girl. Come on.
I'm trying.
So, well, it was more than a couple. But here's my point.
Yeah.
We had seen a similar scene in this year's Smile, where the lead character played by Sosie Bacon, she's totally at her wit's end. She's got no one to really turn to because her sister basically disowned her. And she was in the car and she was hitting the steering wheel and she was freaking out and just yelling and yelling, yelling. So it's a very similar scene. One has no F-bombs, but you still get the emotion. The other one has like 10, So it's like, I guess what I'm saying is that scene is just a small snippet of what I mean by, the sleaze paradise is that, pulling it back, I think just could have made it so it didn't take you out of it as much, I guess is what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean, Kill, or how do you look at it? Do you look at it different than that?
Yeah, no. I agree with everything Eric said and you. For me, if you have good dialogue and good direction, that should suffice. But just like Eric said, when you're coming into a Rob Zombie movie, there's going to be a stripper scene in some way, shape, or form. There's going to be F-bombs. It's going to be violence and brutality. It's going to be sleazy dialogue, stuff that kind of might make you feel uncomfortable, like John Forsythe in the first Rob Zombie movie and comments about his stepdaughter, or his girlfriend's daughter, like that's uncomfortable stuff. But that's straight up Rob's alley.
Right.
Do I feel that if the movie didn't have that, it would, be better? That's hard to tell. It would be more of a Halloween movie and less of a Rob Zombie movie.
True.
So I could take it, or leave it. But my thing is, since I like Rob and I love Halloween, I just wish he found a happy medium of saying, I'm Rob Zombie. I'm going to put my stamp on this, but I'm also not going to make this House of a Thousand Corpses in Haddonfield.
Yes.
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? I just
Good
feel
point.
that there could have been a balance, that would have made it accessible for everyone.
Yeah. And Tex was saying the sleaze fat. Yeah, and it definitely comes from Rob's Grindhouse 70s style filmmaking. And that being said, and we've talked about this before, even in the review last year, if he was doing a TCM movie, I think it would fit that mythology very well.
Yes.
But again, with Halloween, I think that it's just, like I said, it is what it is. But, some things worked really well, You know, like some of the things he did with Loomis worked really well, but some of the things were just kind of, it just takes you out a little bit. That's all. But anyways, let's go to our last couple here. And Kill, I'll throw this one at you because we talked a little bit about it this morning. I'm sorry, earlier in the episode. But at the end of the movie, we've got Michael versus Laurie. I mean, no, Michael versus Annie. Okay, that's at the end of the movie. Michael versus Annie. Obviously, the iconic Danielle Harris in that scene. Michael wanted to finish some business, man. He said, I'm going to go to this house, you know, Brackett's house, and finish what I started. And it was a very, you know, I played it a little bit in the intro. And I can't lie, even watching it the other night, it, you know, it's pretty rough, man. What'd you think of it?
That is one of the best shot scenes in this movie, in my opinion, because it makes you feel the utter terror,
right,
of a home invasion, of, you know, just this young girl that is fighting for her life, just trying to hold on, and also the rage that Tyler brings with his physicality and this interpretation of Michael. To me, that one scene encompasses Rob Zombie's, you know, Halloween totally, you know.
All right.
And the way that he kind of does his cuts, you know, you can see certain things, but then he cuts away, you know, at certain times so it doesn't go too graphic,
Right.
which makes it a little worse in your brain.
Yep.
Of course.
You hear sounds and you know things are happening, and you're like, wow, in a way that makes it worse, 100 times worse than actually seeing it all.
Well, one thing that was better too, and we talked about this in the Rob Zombie episode, is that he had shaky cam going on in that one, and he got rid of it in 2. So I think that was a better thing too, because you could really see what was going on. You could see, you know, the shots and the characters, and Michael obviously as well. Whereas in the first Rob Zombie movie, man, there were times when that camera was shaking so much, I thought I was watching the Bourne Legacy or something, the Bourne Ultimatum or something like that. It's like, dude. You know, and I know he did that to kind of, you know, get you amped up and show intensity. But I think, you know, it's just, I like to be able to see what's going on, you know? So, yeah, absolutely. Michael Joe saying this movie would have been better if Rob Zombie wouldn't direct it. Okay. Yeah, we definitely got different points of view, man. And Black Asai is reminding us of what Ronnie said in the first movie. I'm all broken up here, bitch. I can't work. Yeah. That's Halloween. Michael saying Rob Zombie could have touched Friday the 13th. Yeah, I think Friday the 13th. Put it this way.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills
Yeah, I
Have
would rather
Eyes.
see that Texas Chainsaw Massacre than fucking
right.
Friday.
Right, but I'm saying
Sorry,
if it was like
but...
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, and then maybe Friday. I think all of those movies.
No, Friday.
Well, just listen to what. Can I finish, man? What I'm saying is I think he would have been better suited to those movies rather than Halloween. Is what I'm getting at, because their mythologies are a little bit more, you know, gritty and dirty and nasty and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I'm going with it. Okay, so Eric and Coriander, this is the last one we're going to talk about. You know, when you're watching this movie, a lot of good things are happening, you know, and I'm the type of guy, I like to be on time with things. You know, I keep track of my watch. And in this movie, we keep track of something else too. And that is 1 hour and 42 minutes. And you know what that is? That is when Loomis decided to say, hey, I got to try to save this girl. Shit's going down. Michael's back. Now, we know why he was portrayed the way he was. And obviously, Eric, you're a big fan of it. But do you think that because it was at the very end of the movie, like literally after he made that decision at 1 hour and 42 minutes, you know, we didn't see him, but he traveled to where they were at in the shack. Obviously, Michael has Laurie. She's having visions of the white horse and a mom and all that type of stuff. It's really getting crazy and psychotic in the scene. And really all Loomis did was come in and was basically saying, you know, there's nothing there. Laurie, wake up. Let's go. Michael, chill out and all this and that. And then it was over. And then, of course, the fantastic moment where Michael, you know, said, die. Do you think they waited too long for that redemption, or what? Did it make sense?
Well, after you're being made fun of by Weird Al, I mean, what else is there left for you to do? You know.
That's true. That's true.
I
Yeah, he
mean,
said it's over.
in my opinion, it was, you know what, the air quotes necessary thing for this character to do, because regardless of him being an ass in this one, he's still a beloved character of the franchise, and you do want to see that. And
Right.
it's hard to say, you know, because again, an hour and 42 minutes of what, maybe a nearly 2 hour movie. I think it's like 2:01 with credits or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say, you know, did they wait too long? I mean, if it would have been early, you know, Loomis would have been
It
able
would have
to.
been a shorter movie.
Oh yeah, but it wouldn't have been,
true.
Loomis would have been seen as much of a despicable, money-hungry person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I didn't mind it. You know what I mean? Because again, you know, he's got nothing else to lose, and I'm one of the few people that enjoy Michael saying "die," because if he hasn't spoken for 30 years, that's the first thing he says, and he says this to the one person that abandoned him. You know what I mean? First person that abandoned him. But I mean, it's. I really don't have an answer if it was too long or too long, because I'd like as much douchebag Loomis as we got. You know what I mean? So
yeah. How about you, Kill?
I mean, I feel it's kind of par for the course with douchebag Loomis. Like, you know, he came in when he finally realized, oh, I guess I should do something. So I didn't really mind it, because I hate to say this, I didn't want to see him. You know, and because I didn't like him, which that means Malcolm did his job. You know, so I guess I wouldn't change it, because the way he's kind of represented here, it's kind of like, okay, we'll take care of this without you, because all you care about is money.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, one thing that was, it was, like I said, we had the Michael versus Annie scene, so that was kind of like, wow, that's a big thing. And
was that a
obviously,
sin or was that not a sin? The Michael versus Annie.
well, the thing of it is that I felt really, really bad for Danielle Harris in that scene. And I know that, and I know she enjoyed that scene, because it obviously was a big emotional moment. So it's more that I felt bad for her. I don't think it's necessary. It's kind of like in between, because I think it was a well shot scene. But the sin of it is more so that I wanted to also have Lori kind of involved with Michael near the end of the movie too. Now, of course, this is a different type of movie, you know, and I get that. But really, and it kind of ties into Loomis as well, because like really at the end of the movie, we get that, you know, 2-3 minute scene of Lori freaking out. Michael's there. Sherry's doing her look that Coriander loves. And then it's over, you know? And it's kind of like, you know, I just wish personally if Loomis had kind of made that redemption just a little bit sooner, so he could have had more to do as quote unquote back to the old Loomis, you know, the Loomis that cares, the Loomis that wanted to do the right thing. Because I think that he was great in that depiction from the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie. You know what I mean? So it's just too bad that we didn't get more of Loomis after his redemption. We didn't get more of Lori after she got captured. She was just freaking out. But the Annie scene, it was heartbreaking. And actually, Had Your Boys is saying the same thing. The scene with Brad Dourif finding Annie's body was amazing. His acting is so good. He's underrated. That was easily the best scene in this entire movie. One of the saddest scenes I've seen in a horror movie, and Brad killed it.
And not just that. I want to praise Rob, and this is only in the director's cut, because I saw this in theaters. It was in theaters. Rob loves using those, you know, those old home movie footage. He did it. He did it at the end of Rejects. It's at the very end of 31. The fact that when Brackett is looking in at his dead little girl, I hate to say it that way, and then he literally took Danielle Harris's old home movie footage.
Right.
And that's what Brackett's seen. I mean, that's a smart decision. That, you know what I mean?
It was, which is also a callback to Danielle in 4 and 5, you know, kind of paying respect to her there. And Coriander, I want to throw this to you, because we talked specifically about this. In that scene, Brad Dourif, amazing. The home movie footage, amazing. But also the music choices and the camera work. And Coriander, remember what I said to you? I said, this shows that he could do this type of stuff, you know, in a horror movie, or in a movie where the lane is a lot more narrow as far as what kind of fits. You know what I'm saying? Coriander, what did you think about that? Because we talked about how that scene was so touching and it was so well done by Rob, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that you all said it. It was one of the best scenes, and
Hmm.
there was a lot of heart there. There was feeling, emotion. I mean, if it didn't affect you in any way, then that's impressive because,
Hmm.
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, well, I can't talk, so I can't really compare myself to this because I cried at friggin' Rocky. But I'm just saying that, yeah, it it was emotional and
It
it
Yeah.
was
did a
very.
great job.
I
So
think it did a
yeah.
great job, and even with
Mhm.
music choice, the music choice
Oh yeah.
was something that you don't usually hear Rob use. So I guess what I'm saying is that he shows that he can do those things. He can make those
Hmm.
choices and
Yep.
and kind of and I guess that's kind of why I had that as the last thing is because it just shows that those capabilities are obvious there because he's a talented director, and I just wish that like for these two movies he had kind of veered more into that direction more so than in the direction that I think personally would have been more suited to something like the Hills Have Eyes franchise or the Last House on the Left franchise or Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm going with it. But and Ronan, thank you so much. Saying thank you all
Yeah.
so much for being my friend. Thank you to the Night Watch fam for being my friends. I love you all. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, man. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
man.
you,
Hmm.
bro. And yeah,
Right?
Kale
Absolutely.
had a great idea too. Rob directing a Hatchet film would be really cool. I like that. If someone hands him a good script and says don't change it, the film would be great and look amazing. I agree. Hatchet
Oh,
would be another
totally.
movie.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that
Even if he
so
was given a script, right? I think that would be
mhm,
better, for him to
that's
direct,
true too.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So and Omni saying the scene with Annie pissed me off. Yeah, I wanted Annie to live too,
Yeah.
obviously Danielle. So I think a lot of people kind of understand where we're going with when we say if he had directed something like one of those movies, it would kind of fit his regular style a little bit better, you know what I mean, than Halloween. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Brett Dorff is great, man. That
Yeah.
scene literally got me emotional. It
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
did. Like seriously. Um BBB in the chat. What's up? Welcome, welcome. Saying it's one of the best scenes in the franchise. I agree.
Yeah.
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 I agree. It's probably the most emotional scene in the whole franchise.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
really is. As far as the weight and hitting you.
And we've
Hmm.
we mentioned like the studio getting involved. Remember, this was in the director's cut, so it wasn't in the theatrical. So sometimes if you just let Rob do his thing,
Yes.
you can have a better product. In certain cases, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
As much as we love Danielle Harris, I feel she had to die
Hmm.
Yeah.
because if you get like the main, characters in there, there wasn't a lot of death that was going on to motivate our
Yeah.
protagonist and so forth. And I feel that death scene reminds me of the death scene in Kills with Laurie's daughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
at the end.
Totally
And,
agree.
and
Hmm.
and I feel that the way it was shot, it's like, hey, this is Danielle Harris. She's not a
Hmm.
normal, just girl that we're gonna kill. That's
Right.
why it was shot so well and so
Hmm.
special,
Hmm.
and so
Agreed.
sad because it is Danielle Harris. She's a legacy actor in this franchise. So,
Hmm.
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
Danielle, we're gonna kill you, but we're gonna make it one of the most heartfelt
Hmm.
deaths in
Yeah.
all of these movies ever.
And it was paid off. And again, giving Rob credit because like I said, there's good things in these movies too. So we talk about the things that we have issue with, but also give credit to the things that we did really enjoy. But that scene worked because of how Rob depicted them early in the movie.
Hmm.
Struggling to still be a family, still try, Brackett still trying to show some light to his two
Yep.
young daughters and trying to help them through what they went through, and Annie also being a very well, I want to say likable character. Like you
Yeah.
really, I could get on board with her more easily, even though, of course, in this movie, the big thing was showing that Laurie has that psychosis within her, just like Michael. That's
Hmm.
what this movie was kind of showing, which is totally different than before. And I had no issue with that. I just wish that we could have had, some more things that we could have latched on to. And also the finale being different, because at the end of the finale, it really kind of just, we didn't get enough in that sense, other than the idea of seeing Lori totally turn to the dark side, which, for some people, that's a huge thing. Real quick, Ginger Ninja, as we head on out here, saying much love to the Nightwatch Zone, Night, Corey, and Killian, Eric, and all the members and everyone in the chat. Thanks so much,
buddy.
man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
My man Sunrise in the chat, coming in with a $2 super chat, saying, "Hey, bro, Nightwatch Zone, the best channel for true horror fans."
That's right.
Oh man, thanks so much. We appreciate that, man. Let's play a clip for you, bro. Thank you so much for the support and all the kind comments and encouragement and so forth, man. Here we go. This one's for you.
Bring that fat ass over here.
This. Like this. Swing your hips. Swing your hips. Fire! Swing your hips.
Gotta work that ass.
Look at Eric's face.
He doesn't stop.
Hey, look. The look on Eric's face. He's just like, what? What's going on? Oh, man. You got to have some laughs, man. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. And also, Ronan coming in with a $2 super chat saying, "Because I love you all." Man, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate you, seriously. It means a lot.
Awesome.
It really, really does. You guys are all right, man. Seriously. Omni saying the Annie death felt mean given her trauma and how she didn't give up on Lori, but I agree her death was necessary to the story. Totally agree. Totally agree. Daisy's in the chat too, saying, "Hey everyone, what's going on? What's going on?"
Hey.
Blucka's in the chat as we get ready to head on out, saying, "I'm Joe Chrisley." That's right, man. That's right, man. Good to see you, man. So anyways, guys, that's about all we have for the Sins of Halloween 2 from 2009. Again, some things that to us, didn't work as well as we wish they could have, but some things that were really great, and especially the wonderful performance of Brad Dourif, and also Daniel Harris and Scout, depicted the way that she did. She went through a hell of a lot of stuff, man. Absolutely crazy stuff. Hey, what's going on, Kirby? So anyways, for you guys, make sure you check out Eric's channel. We got the link in the live chat. We got the link in the description. Go to his channel, subscribe to him, because he's absolutely amazing. And give the video a like. That would help support the channel. We'd appreciate it. And we will catch you guys next time. Who knows what we're going to talk about next time? It could be anything. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, no
on
kidding.
Tuesday nights. So we'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.
Cheers.
Peace.
Touch it.